All right, and we're live. Good morning. Welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome to Zoom In Between Wall and Main. We always do that. Show us your guns. Flex. Get that energy going. All right, now let's do some jumping jacks.
Yeah, right.
Kidding. No jumping jacks.
Mentally.
That's all I need is somebody suing me because their back went out doing jumping. This is like the 40 and over club, right?
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
40 and over and over.
So no jumping jacks this morning.
Over.
So anyway, a couple things before we get into today's events. I want to share something really funny with you guys. So, we all have our systems for how we get prospects in, right? Like I use Smartsheet and I have web forms. So I have a form on the Nerd Enterprises site that people come and fill out. And, usually about once a day at least I get something, right? So this guy came in and filled out the form, I think it was earlier this week, and that's linked. I get notified, but so does my assistant. And so my assistant follows up on those initially to, because 9 times out of 10, they just need information for how to get signed up for a private session with me. So she follows up with this guy, and lets him know in very explicit language, hey, I'm Seth David's assistant. I'm following up. You inquired about getting some help with QuickBooks and just wanted to share with you some information. You came to the right place and blah, blah, blah. Like we have kind of a canned message that she sends out to them. So this is where it just blows me away how people just, I think, aren't paying attention to the world they're in and their immediate surroundings. The guy writes back and says, thank you for your response. Please take me off your email list. It took everything I had not to send a snarky reply back.
Oh, come on.
That's my funny story for the week.
Oh, my goodness. So did you take him off your list?
I wanted to respond and be like, sir, you're not on any list. You inquired with
I'm returning your message.
moron.
Take you off my white list and put you on my black list.
Exactly. Well, I do have a douchebag list, actually. I think it has to go there. All right, so I'll tell you another funny story, how that list actually came to be. I had a guy who emailed me based on my video on sales commissions. I have a video and a template for how you can run a report in QuickBooks, drop it into the template so you can, go to town calculating your sales commissions for your salespeople. And the guy inquired about getting help setting that up for his business. So I was moving fast and replying really quick. And I noticed in his signature, I saw the word Santa Monica. So I just quick pro quo said, okay, I see you're in Santa Monica. And I always, if I see somebody's local, I always like to throw out the suggestion, hey, maybe we can meet for lunch or whatever. It's nice that we're in the same area.
Oh, so, no, he didn't think you were hitting on him, did he?
No. Nothing like that. So the guy writes back and says, not in Santa Monica, I'm in Beverly Hills. And right away I'm like, okay, so we've got one of these, like out of my Beverly Hills address. And so I wrote back, sorry, I was moving fast, because then I looked back at his signature. You're on Santa Monica Boulevard in Beverly Hills. My apologies. And I put a little smiley wink in there, just saying like, haha, whatever. So he writes back saying something to the effect that it's odd to see somebody putting a smiley wink in a professional email. So then I said, you know what? This may not be a good fit. So he writes back. He says, well, I'm glad we found that out before I signed the work order. And I'm like, how do we get to the work order already? So I just wrote back, me too, with another smiley wink. And he went into the DB file. So anyway.
It's important to have those files, because sometimes whenever I try to qualify a client, I'll do a little background check, ask about them. I mean, I've gotten really selective over the years, but, if you're strong enough. And, 3, 4, 5 years may go by and you get a call and so I may not always recognize the name or the company name or anything. So I do check back, because I don't have a memory.
Right.
But, it's important to up with those things, especially in a small town. I can find out a lot about a company or person in a small town.
Yep. No, I have a label. That's why I love Gmail, because you have the label. So if I search somebody's email address, I'll find out pretty quickly that they're in that file. That's how I do it. I just have the label.
You get recurring DBs.
Well, it's amazing how you'll, tell them no. Or even clients I fired years ago, maybe they have a new manager or something, and then I get a call and they're looking for quotes.
Right. That's funny. All right. Anyway, let's get into today's topic. By the way, I learned something interesting. I am now hooked up with an Ethernet cable to my router, and my video feed is like 1,000 times better.
Oh, were you wireless?
So I was,
wireless before?
on the Wi-Fi, I was always Wi-Fi. And
no.
if you remember ways back, Lior was on here, and he's the one who convinced me that I really needed to be hardwired in for a good quality image. And
yeah, much better.
So anyway, just a little tip for when you do these things. Justin, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. For the rest of you and for the kids who are going to watch at home later on when the recording goes up, which will be tomorrow at some point, Justin and I share a few clients. Justin has referred me, I think, 2 clients, and now one of those clients has referred me a client. So thank you, Justin, for helping to pay my mortgage. But Justin is a certified financial planner, CFP, and has a business but you're like a certified financial planner for businesses, not necessarily individuals, unless those individuals have businesses. Anyway, let me shut up and you introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, and who you do it for.
Thank you. Which group is this? I don't even know are you guys bookkeepers? Are you accountants?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
What is this between Wall and Main?
Yeah, so this is our weekly Zoom in between Wall and Main. Our call that we do every week. So it's mostly accountants and bookkeepers, a sprinkling of business owners, and a lot of people who watch after the fact are going to be more. You have CPAs, enrolled agents, bookkeepers, and then people like me who are just, degreed accountants with a webcam and a microphone.
Got it. Okay. So first of all, I'm really happy to be here. You turned me on to Zoom, and I love Zoom. I use it now, so thank you for the referral.
Yep, you bet.
So I'm a CFP, and I have an investment management and financial planning business. Did that for a while. I worked at UBS, left to go start my own firm, and became a fee-only advisor. And I started working with clients and doing the financial planning when I started my own firm, and I would ask them questions like, what do you have to do in sales to buy a house? Like how much you have to make in profits to save up for, college or whatever. And I started asking them questions about their businesses and got a little bit more detailed with the questions. And then I started taking a look at their books and they're like, oh my God, I've been looking for someone like you. I feel like my bookkeeper does the data entry part and sends me the reports, and my accountants do the tax planning, but I don't really feel like anyone's giving me money strategy. So I just rolled with it and I ran with it, and I just coined myself a money strategist for business owners. So I have a CFP practice. Oh, that's cool. Someone came on with the 17 hats bear.
That's good, Mariette, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I started working, bringing in clients to work one-on-one, and then I found that, no matter how well they pay me, it's a lot of time. And from there, I started a group program as well, and it's just all money strategy. And we can go into more about that, but that's really what I do and who I am.
So it's interesting because we, a lot of us belong to the Sleater Group. Justin, I don't know if you're familiar with the Sleater Group. But Doug Sleater does a lot of studies, where he talks to people and tries to learn as much as he can, what drives the SMB, the small business owner. And recently, one of the studies he did suggested that the number one reason people leave their CPA is the lack of strategic guidance. And then when looking for somebody new to take over that role, the number 3 thing they're looking for that person to do is provide them with that strategic guidance. And we keep talking and hearing more and more about the implications of this sort of cloud-based world that we're all, I don't even like to say that we're going to it anymore. I think it's here, where we have all these cloud-based applications. In fact, we were just discussing in a thread, in between Wall and Main about people upgrading to Windows 10 and the problems they're having with software compatibility, which that whole problem gets solved when you're using all cloud-based software. And it's interesting to me, the biggest sort of slowdown that I see is the tax software that's out there. Is that a lot of the tax software is where I see people having a lot of problems with compatibility issues, upgrading to Windows 10. And I think that problem would be solved in a second, moving to the cloud and using cloud-based software. But all that is to say that as we move into this world, if we're not already there, what we have is a situation where there's less of that data entry to be done, right? I mean, Justin, you see it. We're downloading bank feeds and we're coding things and we're creating rules so that that coding happens much faster on much more of an automated basis so that it leaves more room to provide that strategic guidance. So, maybe it would be interesting to have you walk us through like sort of almost like a case study. If you can give us like a generic scenario of what you've seen maybe on a recent client, of course, without mentioning names or anything like that, and how you identified and solved problems. Because I feel like I've done a lot of what you've done in that regard. Is I provided the CFO level analytics and services to clients, and I've gotten the same kind of response. I'm filling the gap exactly between the bookkeeper and the CPA. And that's, I think, a big hole that a lot of us have an opportunity to fill in this world. So, and then you have a specific cash flow management program that I think you wanted to talk about today. Is that right?
Yeah. I just want to understand who I'm talking to. How many of you are just bookkeepers? And the other two, are you accountants?
CPA.
I've got bookkeepers on staff, and then I'm a controller. I'm a contracted controller.
Got it.
Accountant.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to preface it by saying I'm in the trenches with you guys. I have made a shit ton of mistakes and learned from them and seen what works, what doesn't work. And I just think the number one thing that people are looking for is proactive strategy on the front end, being where they're receiving the phone calls from you guys, from us, from everyone with advice. Hey, have you thought about this? You might want to look at that. Here are your reports, but I notice you're coming up with this, this campaign for Mother's Day. You might want to look at this, your cash flow statement, and here's the number you should be looking at. Like when you're reaching out to them and being strategic, either as their accountant or bookkeeper, that goes a long way, and I think you'll be able to keep your clients longer and raise prices. But to answer your question, Seth, I'll go with an example of a client. First of all, I've got two businesses. Actually, it's interesting between Wall and Main. Let's just say that Wall is my investment business and Main is my money strategy business.
Yep.
So my money strategy business, I have people in a group coaching program. We talk once a week. It's a secret Facebook group. We have exactly like this, a Zoom thing, and it records, and it's all great. One of the ladies in there makes candles, and she's been on Dr. Oz and the Today Show and all of that kind of stuff. And the first thing that we worked on was what to track for her. And the only way that I could help her in terms of what to track, is I'm sure you see this a lot, is by looking at the three financial statements. And I saw really quickly that she was taking too much money out of her business for her personal life as either distributions, owner loans, whatever. Wasn't even an S Corp, and should have ran a salary, and she didn't have the business. I talk about the distinction between what the business owner needs and what the business needs. The business owner needs financial peace of mind, happiness, work-life balance, being with the kids, a cup of coffee, sushi, Vegas, getting your nails done, all that stuff. But the business needs a lot of shit too, like marketing, cash, continuity of revenue, all that stuff. So she was taking too much money out of her business, and I set her up on a simple salary to get some withholding in there. That's number one. Number two, she didn't have enough cash in the business, and then I told her, here are the things that you need to track. Now, being in the candle business, she's dealing with inventory. So I looked at how much inventory she had and who was actually making the candles. So she farmed it all out to some guy, and we calculated his costs were like 40 grand. And then we just said, all right, if you had labor and you pay them $15 an hour, how many candles can you pour, blah, blah, blah. And we saw that she could cut that that act of the labor part of the cost of goods sold down. So her gross profits went up. Now, this is a lady who makes candles. She doesn't even know what gross profits are. So I have to explain that to her. You're like, look, before you pay any overhead, you got to make a decent profit so that your business will make a profit. And then I had to teach her about at least a 10% profitability rule net of either the owner distributions or the salary. So I add the owner distributions back in and show her that, look, if you think your business is making 30%, when you add in these distributions, you're really making 3%. So she didn't even get that. That was a whole separate conversation, because the gross profit conversation was one day. The net profit was another day. So I got her to understand that. Then that was just a lay of the land. But then, so her gross profits after about 6 months doubled, and her net profits doubled as well. But that's because we looked at the costs, and then we reported her income, both wholesale and retail. I mean, it was a simple thing to just tell her to look at your wholesale shit and look at your retail and have the bookkeeper line item those. But the bookkeeper didn't know how to pull that data. That was a whole nother conversation.
Oh,
but I got her with the wholesale and the retail. And then we got into the strategy part, which is making money. But I looked at what her pricing was and how she was actually displaying the pricing. Number one, she had too many offers on her webpage. When we as consumers look at a webpage and see 7 offers in one screen, kind of like we see right here with the squares, we just get too overwhelmed. It's too much information. So I got her to just have 3 offers and to show the buyer to kind of direct them to where the best value was. So pricing is huge for a business owner. It's also huge for consumers as to how we buy. The brain doesn't just look at one. By the way, I got this from Dan Ariely, who wrote the book Predictably Irrational. And he did a whole thing about, am I able to share my screen?
Yeah. Just move your mouse over where you're seeing our faces and click share screen.
Because this is so cool. Okay, here we go. Share screen, desktop, share screen. Okay, it's basically like I'm running one of these. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So this is awesome. So I showed her this, and she was like, "Oh my God, what the? This is crazy," you know. And it's a great way to get people to really understand pricing. All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Yep, crystal clear.
Okay, so there's this guy, Dan Ariely, who talks about like how do people buy and all that kind of stuff. He stumbled upon this ad that economist.com was creating. And both, you know, the magazine, right? So they had like 3 offers. The first offer was an online subscription for $59, a print subscription for $125, and a print and web for $125. That's right. Like, why would anyone buy the print if they can get the print and web for the same price?
But why would I want the print at all when I can just get the web for $59? To me, that's like I would never pay the $125 to do that. But I guess some people like to have the print.
Yeah.
But the point is junked up with an extra line.
Yeah.
Right.
So he brings in 100 students. 16 of them go with the online. 0 go for the print subscription. And 84 went for the print and web. He brings in another 100 students, and he shows them 2 offers, Economist Online, print and web. 68 take the online, 32 take the print and web.
Interesting.
So what's going on here? How we make decisions, we need context. We need relativity. We need to throw a decoy in there, which basically leads people to something that is clearer, and you're like, wow, what a deal. Like I could, you know, get that or something like that. So the first thing is I believe that a lot of business owners need to have 3 prices, at least 2, but most likely 3, and have one that needs to be a decoy where it's like, why would anyone buy that if they can get this? So that's the first thing. Then the next thing is, how do you display this? How do you literally display this to a buyer? And there's a whole science to that. And this is just an example of this is for me, but you'll understand how you display this. you see how clean this is? It's pretty simple what people get and what the pricing is. And then the difference between this is like the decoy. This is the one I want people to take. By the way, this is not my real pricing. I just did this as an example. But why would anyone buy these 3 when for an extra $30 a month, they can get access to the Facebook group and get this course? And then here's my bigger offer, which again, these numbers are not true, but you can see how I'm displaying this to my people. So I worked with this lady on basically on that, like how she's displaying her offers. And then I got her to when people are buying something, she has to have a one-click upsell. She has to have a one-click upsell. Hey, if you bought this, you'd love this. And then from there, so that was pricing. That was, a one-click upsell. Then from there, I spoke a little bit about like how should she be investing in her business. And I'm a big believer in setting up marketing campaigns for business owners. I think rather than just throwing some stuff at the wall and seeing what works, a campaign is when you lay out your content for a year and you decide what it is that you're going to invest in and promote and all that kind of stuff. So that has to do with cash flow. It has to do with, sales cycle. I mean, all that. You guys know a lot of that. But I showed her, and we just picked, like, we went, for example, for Mother's Day. And we were like, all right, how many candles do you want to sell for Mother's Day? What is your offer going to be? How much money are you going to spend in ads? Who are you going to bring in to help you pour? And we developed a quick just cash flow plan on that. And, I mean, I can go more in detail, but that's the kind of stuff that we created to increase both her gross and net profits. And then I said, look, you got to take less money out of the business. Run a salary, keep that in. And the only other thing that we worked on that we invested some money in is retargeting. Does anyone know what retargeting is?
Retargeting?
Yeah, retargeting. No. You know when you go onto Amazon or Zappos or whatever and you're looking at anything that you want to buy, let's just say it's a pair of shoes. You don't buy those shoes and then you're surfing around the web and those shoes are following you everywhere with an ad.
Even on Facebook.
Yeah.
Creepy.
That's retargeting.
Okay.
I do it in my own business. We're getting her to do it in her business. Retargeting is one of the cheapest ways to convert people because you're going after people that have already been to your site or to whatever. So we took people to a page. If they didn't take the action that we wanted to, we served them up with an ad and brought them back to the page.
But so do you do that through Google AdWords or AdSense, or how do you do that?
How do you do that?
Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook. You pay Facebook to follow them?
Sort of stalk.
Stalk. That's what I'm...
So, well, no, I know, but Facebook ads, when I go to place a Facebook ad, I don't see an option for retargeting unless I'm just not looking in the right place for it.
Yeah.
Okay. I can either create a video for you guys and show you how to do it. But where I'm coming in with this is the money strategy where, okay, you can go spend, let's just say $100 a day serving up Facebook ads to people. But I think a better ROI, and my rule is 3 times the rate of return. If you can't get 3 times your money on anything in business, it's not a good investment. So I told her that. And I'm like, all right, $100, what is your conversions? How many people you think you could buy, blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't great. And I'm like, why don't we just target the people that have already been to your page? So we priced out who would set up and I'll explain how you do it, but who would set up the retargeting pixel, who would create the web page, what the offer would be, what we thought we could sell off of that. Like I thought the conversions would be about 30%. So for every 100 people that visit the page, we thought 30 would buy. And then we just did some simple math. We tested it with like $50. It started to work, and then we went bigger. So how does it work? How does retargeting work? Retargeting works when someone goes to a web page, I will put a cookie on their page, on their computer. It's called a pixel or a cookie. And they then have that pixel on either their browser or computer. And then Facebook sends me that pixel and builds an audience for me. It's called a custom audience. So it's basically getting people to opt into your email list without their username and password. And by the way, you have no choice on this unless you set it up in your browser. So it's perfectly legal. It's done all of the time. And everyone's terms and conditions on their sites, Amazon, mine, everyone has a privacy policy where they say they're going to cookie you.
Well, yeah, I've seen it. I just figured it was something that probably was exorbitant in terms of the cost to get it done. So it's interesting.
No. If you guys are looking for clients, you should do it all day long for $5 a day, $10 a day.
I would pay you to teach me how to do that.
You want me to show you guys right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now, don't jinx me. I'm sharing my screen. I'm going here, and I'm going here. All right. So let's get this out of the way. Well, okay. So here's my home page. Now, it's pretty clear what I want them to do. I want them to get this free report, right? But let's pretend that they don't get the free report, that they don't want to grab it for whatever reason. So what I've done is, first I'll show you the end result, and then I'll show you how it works. No, Facebook is free. If you want to do it on Google, you got to pay a little bit of money. But Facebook's a big enough audience. They got plenty of people there.
Oh, yeah.
So here is my audiences. All right. I have all of these. Okay, I have all of these retargeting pages. I can retarget on specific pages. So my website homepage, I think that's the one. Yeah, all right. So you can see that I got different audiences. So in the last 180 days, 300 people, it's a new site for me, so it's not a ton of traffic. 300 people have been to this website homepage. I can serve an ad to them, get them to go back to my homepage. Now here's an example of an ad. You'll just kind of get it where okay, this is an ad for people to book a free strategy session with me. So anyone who visits my free strategy session page, whether they opt in or not, it will see this ad at least 2 times a day for however long I run it until I take it off. So how do you do this? Go back to home, go to ads manager. You're recording this, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Does everyone get the concept? You're with me, right?
Yeah, the concept's 100% clear. I just don't know how you get that cookie to drop on their computer. Yeah, I'm assuming you have to put some kind of code in your website on the home page or on the page that you want to target.
You're exactly right. So you go to Tools, Audiences.
And Facebook gives you the code.
Exactly. Create audience, custom
Holy
audience,
crap.
website traffic, anyone who visits your website, or it could be who visit a specific page.
Oh my God.
Whatever. So I'm going to go with specific web page.
I'm taking next week off. I'm going to be busy, guys.
This is a no-brainer.
Real big time.
Whatever. I mean, it could be anything. So let's just, SethDavid.com.
I love that. I love that. Go to SethDavid.com.
Yeah. And then you can do it 180 days, right? 180. The audience name is Seth David. And then we're going to create an audience. Now we hit OK. Now we're going to hit this check mark. We're going to hit actions. We're going to create view pixel. Now this is where you're going to get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed. It's like kind of like what you tell your clients with money. And
yeah, no, you just copy and paste the code. Nobody should be overwhelmed here.
Copy and paste the code where?
Okay, in the header section of your page.
So this is, my friends, where once again, when I tell you to use WordPress to build your sites, this is why. Because in WordPress, on any page, you can drop this code in very easily by clicking on the HTML tab and putting it in the page. And most themes also have a CSS module where you can drop code like this right into a page.
Or what I do is I just literally email it to my web person. They put the code in the header, and then what happens is every single time someone visits Seth David, they're being cookied. I'm building an audience. Now, I can do nothing with the audience. I don't have to advertise to the audience ever, but what I tell the people that I work with is you need to be building an audience while you're figuring out what you're going to do in your business. You don't have to.
What kind of Facebook page do you have? I mean, the ads do all of us have that, or just certain types of pages?
This has nothing to do with his page. He goes into the Facebook Ads Manager to get this, Sarah.
I just never noticed that before the Facebook Ads Manager.
Oh, yeah, no, it's there. It's been there. I use it. I boost posts regularly, but not nearly as well targeted as this. So Justin had a post. It was just a regular post that he put on Facebook, and then he can boost it. And then, Justin, if I understood correctly, you can take that boosted post and sort of infuse it into this part of the ad manager where that becomes the ad for that targeted audience.
Yeah, but with a boosted post, your entire audience is seeing it. What you're doing here is you're creating a hidden ad that only those people who've been cookied on the page that they've been to, they're only going to see that.
Oh, so that ad was separately created for this campaign. It wasn't a post that you chose to use for this purpose. Okay.
Correct. And then what you do when you do joint ventures with people. So let's pretend that I wanted to do a JV with you, Seth, where you're working on whatever it is. You're creating your new website, right, with all the contributors and all that. So what I would do is I would send everyone to that website and everyone on my list if I wanted to. And then if they don't take that action, right, they would be cookied on your page, and then you would serve them ads. But also what you can do is I can upload my entire email list to Facebook and serve them an ad, sending them to you, and they wouldn't really know it was me. So you can use your email list as a custom audience.
Right, nice. So
it's a different way of getting them.
So you've gone into a whole area of internet marketing that goes like very far to the side of what you're doing as a strategic cash flow and financial analyst. I mean, this is ROI. That's all it is. I don't know how to help for the Facebook ad. I have no clue on code or any of that. I'm a big believer in promotional partners and joint ventures and stuff like that. But am I an internet marketer? No, I have no idea how to do that. So what do you mean? You just showed us how you do it. Or
I don't do it, but I know the money side of it. The ROI is so much better, and it's a lot less. What am I trying to say? It's so much cheaper. So
you have somebody else create the ad, is what you're saying. You don't actually create the ad. You pay somebody else to create the ad, but you understand how to put it all together and get it to work.
Yeah. One of the things is I think I know enough to be dangerous. I don't ever want to get into the technical of it. But one of the biggest mistakes that I see business owners make is they invest too much money and they don't make a return on it. They're investing a lot. They're not investing a little in testing and seeing. They're just throwing shit at the wall like the bright shiny object and hoping that something converts. Right. I'm coming in with a whole ROI angle and being like, well, what are you doing? How much money are you making off of this?
And most people say, I have no idea.
They have no clue. None. So part of it is getting right with the fact that you have to look at your ROI, and they don't even know how to calculate that, and that term just freaks them out.
And I like that you like a 3 times number. I always thought a 2 times number was good, but I think I'm going to have to raise the bar a little bit.
I've given, I speak, I mean, I'm sure we all do, but when I've said that, I've heard some people be like 10. I'm like, Jesus.
10?
It's insane.
Well, that's, it's all perspective. It's like I put out a post earlier this week on how can I make $20,000 this week, right? And it was really just a little bit of a financial modeling tip on how you can lay out the top products that you want to target for sales for the week and how many do you have to sell to reach that goal. It was it was a spreadsheet tutorial really on how to look at that. But part of it was like, I knew people were going to be like 20,000 in a week. That's outrageous. And then other people were going to look at it and go, what do you mean only 20,000? It's all perspective. And somebody emailed me saying, you make $20,000 a week? And I'm like, no, it's a goal. I said, this is how you turn monthly income into weekly income, by setting goals and figuring out how to achieve them. And then you turn annual revenue into monthly revenue. That was one of my favorite things I learned years ago at a marketing seminar that I went to. is, to focus on it from that perspective. How do I take annual income and turn it into monthly?
Another thing, because you guys are accountants and bookkeepers, you'll like this, is that there are so many business owners that don't have a line item in their P&L for marketing. I mean, can you believe that?
Yeah.
It'll say technology, but that was really marketing for their website or something. Like, you have to have marketing as a line item. And then below that, you need to have subcategories, one of which would be Facebook, another one which would be whatever, networking or whatever. But I'm a big believer in subcategories because it's so easy to track what you're spending. It's really what you're investing, but for financial statements, it's spending. And I actually talk about how the fact that marketing is an investment, it's not an expense. I mean, I talk to the business owner that way, but I'm a big believer in the way that someone's structuring their P&L so that I can explain it to them in a really, really simple way. Most of my people, my tribe, they get too freaked out when they look at their P&L. It's just like, I'm like, you know what? Have a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine.
I have videos you can show them.
Yeah.
I'll break it down really simple. No, I'm serious though. When I did my cash flow projections webinar at what seems like 100 years ago now, most of the audience were actually CPAs who obviously understand a P&L and a balance sheet and a statement of cash flows, but I think they came because they wanted to learn how to explain it to their clients. And that's one of the things I've done well.
And Justin, do you have a program for cash flow that you were going to show us?
Yeah, I do. I don't know what do you want me to, do you want me to talk about the program, or do you want me to talk about more about like what's in it, how I'm marketing it? What would be best for you guys?
Well, what is the program to start out with?
Yeah, tell us about the program, then we could.
Because you've touched on a couple different areas that are sort of huge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's called Cash Flow Control.
Mm-hmm.
jkrane.com. Well, you know what I can do is
share your screen.
I could
Share your screen. Let's see your website.
All right. That's it. That's the link to get people to. Oh yeah, share my screen. Sorry, hold on. All right, I got to get out of this whole Facebook thing here. I'm going to talk to you guys like it's the hold on, okay, good. So I'm going to talk to you from the back end, not that you're a potential client, but what I learned in doing this and the mistakes that I have made and why it's doing a little bit better now. So my copy, and I tested the copy, and cash flow is the most important word for my target market. That word resonates with them. And I had some copy, and it didn't pull that well. And I changed it up because someone basically sent me an email saying, I feel like I'm barely, this is literally her words, I feel like I'm barely making it. And too many bills, too much debt, not enough money coming in, the stress of putting it on, blah, 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 blah. So I literally took her email and I put it on my page. I didn't even mess with the copy. But that will convert because you're getting in your customer's mind into a conversation. This is what I learned, that they're already having with themselves.
Yeah, you're touching an emotional chord. One of my most successful web copy campaigns was one where I headed it up with a question saying, are you a bookkeeper who's in over your head? And it was advertising my services, training them on how to step up their QuickBooks skills. And I got so many new training clients that were bookkeepers who were, in fact, in over their head. It's touching that emotional chord with somebody that they're like, this is exactly what I need.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just showing you one of the pages. So I have an intro with music and all that kind of stuff. And then what I did was I just had the video, and you can just see it's just me. Out fires, like you're bringing in money to pay one vendor. Me speaking, and what happened is actually, look, I'm talking about
bookkeeper.
Just dropped as soon as I went with the bookkeeper, like, because I'm sure some of you have bookkeepers, and when you hire a bookkeeper, it totally stinks when you pay them. and they don't follow through. Like they don't set. So it's a big issue with a lot of people is they pay their bookkeepers and they don't get what they're paying for. Maybe not from you.
Well, define a bookkeeper. There's so many different kinds.
Someone that does your books.
Well, no, I mean, some are just data entries, some,
the
some
problem,
know
Justin,
a lot
that
more
we
than
see
others. Full charge, I think, is the word.
Yeah, Justin, what we see a lot of are people who, the best analogy is a little less relevant now in terms of the actual translation, but the analogy that I used to use was somebody went to Staples and bought QuickBooks, right? They bought the box, and they figured out how to fill out the check writing form and how to fill out an invoice form, and now they go on Craigslist and say, hey, I'm a bookkeeper, I can do your books. The point is there are a lot of bookkeepers out there who don't have a clue what bookkeeping really is or how to do it properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I talk about how you need to get one, the things you need to ask. I mean, it's a big
They need
question.
to be more full charge than just data crunchers. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then down here, I just have a highlight of what people will see in the video. Like I just added this because I'm tracking how long people are watching a video and they're dropping off at like the 2 or 3 minute mark. Now I added what they're going to see, and I gave them the option to fast forward and stuff like that.
By the way, on YouTube, if you do that with a little hashtag in front of the minutes and seconds, it becomes hyperlinked so they can click right to that part of the video.
Oh yeah, cool. So then and then what I add in here is just the Facebook comments where people can come in here and comment on a video. So it's just basically videos that lead to my group coaching program. But it takes them through, 3 or 4 things, and it funnels them into my group coaching program.
So it's a video training session on cash flow control. And I know, Justin, because I know you and I've seen a lot of your stuff online, you kind of teach people not just how to save money, but how to balance things well, how to live well today and also save for the future and get that balance right. Because most people will go to one extreme or the other, right? Either I'm spending more than what I have and never saving a dime, or I'm saving everything because I'm so worried about it because maybe I screwed up so badly in the past that I'm not enjoying myself in the moment, which of course sort of defeats the purpose of working as hard as most of us do. So it's getting that balance right. And that's kind of what you teach, isn't it?
Yes, I believe in that big time.
Yeah. So one of the things that took me the longest time to do is to learn to pay myself first. And I'm still to this day tempted, if cash flow gets tight, to not give myself a paycheck. And I have to literally force myself to let that payroll run through because mine's on autopilot. Every month I have a monthly salary that they just take out the taxes and I zero out the net check because I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But I'm so tempted. So in fact, just this morning, I was thinking maybe I should not do the payroll this month. It'll give me a little extra cash. And then I immediately have trained myself to say no. It's like bad.
You know what though? What it forces you to do is to be even more aware and protective of your money and your business because you're like, okay, I got to run payroll, so I'm going to have this $500 or this 1,000 or this whatever the number is, and then you're like, shit, I better get a good ROI on this, or I'm not doing it. It just brings in the whole the range of how you can potentially screw up because you're more cautious and more aware.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what it did for me. In fact, it's funny because when I started doing my cash flow projections stuff, my content around it, it was born out of just what I did for myself, my own business. When I sat down to start Nerd Enterprises, I was still working full-time at a CPA firm. And I was like, okay, how am I going to do this? If I'm going to go out on my own, I was nervous as hell that I was not going to make enough money to pay the bills. And so I said, let me model this and say, okay, if I'm going to charge, and in those days it was like $35 an hour, right, to do some bookkeeping consulting work and some Microsoft Excel consulting because I was always good with spreadsheets. I could write formulas and, design what people needed. So I said, let me model this and say how many clients. First of all, I looked at my expenses. I said, what does it take for me to live every month, right? And I started with the personal side. Most people, when they model a business, they just look at the business. I started with my personal finances, and here's my rent every month. Here's all the, the insurance, everything that I have to pay. I have to make at least this much money right? And then I looked at that and I said, okay, if I'm charging $35 an hour, how many hours do I have to bill every week to make enough money to pay all those bills? And I backed into it. And then I said, but I really need to make more than that because I got to save some money, right? And I have to plan for contingencies. And it almost starts to get depressing, like, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then I started realizing, you know what? No, actually, this is very attainable. And then I started realizing, and then I started raising my rates. But so there came a point in time later on where I just done that for myself. I modeled my business to convince myself that I could make enough money that it could work. Then I set out to do it, and I proved it, and it did work. And then one day I had a conversation with my wife. My wife has no background in accounting or finance. But she would observe a lot of the clients that would come in my door and the messes they would have in terms of their books and how bad they were. And, she would say, how do they let it get like this? And I'd say, don't complain. This is what's paying our bill. Like, don't worry. The messier it is, the better. But then she said to me, she said, but don't they do what you did? And I said, no, because they're not accountants. They're really good at selling widgets, and they're really good at making candles, but they don't understand the finances of it. They just know that they're really good at making candles, and if they can make and sell a lot of candles, then this is what they want to do. This is what they're passionate about. So then it hit me, though. And my wife said, well, couldn't you teach other people to do that? And that's when I started developing the content around cash flow projections, which started with a series of videos explaining the financial statements. Turns out the way I explained the statement of cash flows made it easy for people to understand something that otherwise they had a really difficult time grasping. And I did a couple of videos on the statement of cash flows. And then, like I said, when I did that webinar, I was shocked at how many of the audience were actually CPAs, because I was like, don't CPAs know this already? But it wasn't about knowing it. It was about learning how to explain it.
Can I ask the group what their biggest problem is in their business?
Marketing.
Our own business or how we deal with clients?
Marketing. Accountants suck at marketing.
Yeah. I was going to give you guys some suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
But would you, are you all just looking for more clients, or are you looking, what is it that what do you need? What do you want?
Depends on what we're selling, what kind of service we're selling. There's tax accountants, there's...
But bigger picture, Sarah, talk about yourself. What's your goal? What are you trying to do with your business? Are you trying to grow? Are you good?
We want good clients. We don't want sucky clients.
Yeah.
So you want to target. You want to target the exact clients you want. You want to define the demographics. Like at one point I said that I had noticed that companies that did $1 million or more a year seemed to respect my fees more. Those were the ones who weren't complaining about the bill when they got it. And so I started focusing and saying, I want businesses doing $1 million plus a year because they're going to appreciate what I'm doing for them rather than looking at it as a necessary evil. Right? I mean, so Justin, do you have anything for people who want to learn how to focus better on a targeted audience? I mean, and we kind of just saw that on how you do it on Facebook, at least, right? Somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, okay, I'm just going to blurt out what comes to my mind about what I see with accountants and bookkeepers, not necessarily Seth. Seth, you're very good at marketing and getting your name out there, but the biggest thing that I see is I'll meet with accountants and bookkeepers or whatever, but they have no system of staying in touch with me. They just don't. And if I don't see their name in an email or in a email, newsletter, website, it's not top of mind for me. So,
brand recognition, just right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm a big believer in email.
I agree.
You guys should be emailing every week.
Yep.
Every single week.
And just don't expect people to read the emails. They don't need to read the emails. They just need to see it show up in their inbox, and then they get reminded, oh yeah, Sarah's out there. And then the next time they run into somebody who needs the kind of help that you offer, you're the one who's going to, like Justin just said, you're going to be top of mind. You're going to be the person whose name they think of when it comes time to make that referral.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the deal with email. We're all in the money business. People don't like to deal with money. They have their head in the sand. They don't wake up and be like, oh my God, I need to do my books, or I need to get a root canal, or, they just don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So we have to come at it in a totally different way. And if you can just remember one thing, infotainment. You have to give information. You have to give 30 to 40% information, 60 to 70% entertainment, not content. It's not. You're not sending an email how to do your P&L. You're sending an email about a funny story, and the call to action is to reach out to you.
I'm not sure that funny and accountants go together.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Oh, come on.
Anything, like any funny story. Like, you know what? I haven't written one yet, but like I went to this this meeting, and there were like 20 of us in the room, and it's like bagels and cream cheese and lox, and like I don't eat lox, so I get a bagel, I put the cream cheese on, and I eat it, and then like halfway through, see, all of you are listening right now. I can see it in your eyes.
That's because it's a story.
It's a story.
I like stories.
Stories, okay? So I'm sitting here eating the bagel, and something's going on. Like, I'm not feeling it with this bagel, and I don't eat a lot of bagels. And I realized that I did not pick a plain bagel. I picked a garlic bagel.
Oh, that's
I love garlic bagels.
Oh, my God.
not when you're trying to market.
I'm freaking out that I'm going to have garlic breath while I'm talking to everyone. So you can make any lesson out of that story. You think you know what your numbers are, but you really don't until you see them. Your numbers have bad breath. You know, whatever. Like, you think you're making a lot of money, but you're really not. You have a habit of doing something, but you do it and you were on autopilot and you never really stopped to think about what you were doing. I mean, you can in any way. And then you just list 3 bullets. People, our eyes will go immediately to a bullet in an email, and then with a call to action, which is simply to schedule a strategy session with you, have a conversation, or whatever. And then that page, you're cooking them, and you can serve them ads. But the email is, again, the money aspect of an email, it's not that expensive. You can track it. You can literally spend more time with the people that open your emails. You can look at the open rates, and then literally pick up the phone and call them.
And one of my favorite things to talk about, hello, Suchi.
Hi.
And
I have a little
company.
mouse on my shoulder.
One of my favorite things to talk about in this vein is that, because everybody likes to talk about making more money, and that's kind of our default mindset go-to. But the reality is, it doesn't matter how much money you make, it's how much money you keep, how much money you save, right? If I make $500,000 a year, but I'm spending $750,000, I'm a lot worse off than somebody who's making, $100,000 and saving 50, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's there he is. So I think that usually gets people's attention. You know, talking about something that people aren't used to hearing, right? What do we always talk about in marketing and branding is standing out, creating a noticeable difference, right? Doing and saying something that isn't what everybody else is doing and saying. That's how you get noticed. That's how somebody says, hey, you know what I like what that guy's saying? That's different than what everybody else is saying. You know, and I think it's coming up with, first of all, of course, most importantly, things that are true, but that maybe have a different spin on what others are saying. Like we talked about pricing, and a lot of us in our industry talk about value pricing, and that's the new hot button, right? A lot of people talk about it. Ron Baker and Ed Kless seem to be the pioneers of it. But as I understand it from Ron himself, it's based on a book that was written before his time. He and Ed are just very much credited with having brought it into a lot of the service-based industries that we think of today, like accounting and legal professions, where they price based on value and stop with the hourly billing nonsense. So, then I looked at that and said, something about it bothered me. And it took me a while to figure out what it was that bothered me about it. Bye, Larry. And then finally it hit me. I was like, and I just started writing content about it just in the last few weeks. It has nothing to do with value. The only thing that drives the price of a product or service is one of the most basic fundamental laws of economics, supply and demand. That's it. That's it. You want to raise your rates, create demand for what you offer, and you can raise your rates, and it has nothing to do with value. Zero. Value is subjective. What you think the value is going to be very different than what I think it is. So it's things like that to think about where we want to go out and say something that's true, but that's also not what everybody else is saying. And then you'll stand out, and then you'll create that noticeable difference. And then people will be drawn to you. They'll want what you have, right? And then you write the ebook that you offer on Justin's site, like Justin does.
Mhm.
Download. See, I'm guilty. I don't do nearly enough of that because I'm in too much of a hurry all the time. So I just put videos out there and say, here, learn this and call me if you want more help. And that's worked for me, but I'd probably increase my sales so much less hard if I did more of what Justin's talking about today.
But you have a strategy with those. Why are we
Well, yeah, I wanted to get somebody just unmuted and started echoing us. Who's that? Who's guilty?
It's Justin.
It can't be Justin.
Well, he keeps showing up as making sound. Justin. Oh.
Oh, okay. Justin's muted, but now the echo's gone. So
Yeah.
right, well,
Justin.
Justin,
Yeah,
you got to
I know
unmute.
we're running out of time.
We're-
I want to sort of recap what I'm taking from this hour. I'm hearing 3 distinct areas. The first being compilation, bookkeeping, getting data out of your books with more of an emphasis on information that you need for management purposes versus, say, just your tax return. I'm very strong in that. I know I'm strong in that. I know I'm teaching my bookkeepers to do that. I do that when we do setups, when I set up a set of books. Then I know I'm really strong in compliance and, and things like that. And I'm more of a management-minded person. So I'm in between the business owner and the tax accountant. Where I'm very weak is in the strategic long-term marketing, how to make money. So that isn't my area. So I believe in partnerships. So how would I take what you have and do I send my clients to you for for consulting or buying your products, or what do you suggest for somebody in my position?
Or maybe you two should just talk.
Yeah, I think what I like is a strategy session because it allows me to talk one-on-one with people, and it's free, and I can just do that. The video series is great, but I just like talking to people. But you bring up such an important point, which I was waiting for Seth to say, hey, what's your one last thing? So maybe I'll say,
hey, what's your one last thing?
Yeah, is what Sarah is asking me, which is what I see bookkeepers and accountants, they don't think in terms of promotional partners. They're not strategic with really thinking, how can I team up with someone that can send me a ton of business? Or what do I need to do to get a lot of business?
Or what can I do to help the clients that I already have? I mean, I know the ones that are struggling. I don't know how to help them.
I see. So you have clients that could use help from somebody like Justin. So then you set up that referral relationship.
Yeah, I mean, you can either send them to my video series or just email them a link to my website, my strategy session, whatever. I would just say.
Or I go to your website and learn and pass that knowledge on. So
right. Yeah. All right. So we have 60 seconds left. So Justin, tell us, speaking of how to get in touch with you, let's leave with that stuff in the recording. And obviously what I would encourage people to do is get in touch with Justin directly and have that strategic session with him. Let him work with you one-on-one to figure out how he can either help you or your clients.
Cool. So my website is jkrane, Krane.com. That's my website. This strategy session page is jkrane.com/SS. Strategy.
S like Sam?
Yeah, like strategy session.
Okay.
Did I put this in the chat, or
I just did? And the chat transcript, actually, I can make available to everyone. I've never actually done that, but it's always been there. I just never bother. So I will make the chat transcript available.
Cool. And
Oh, it started talking.
It'll have Dennis's Big Bird. That'll be the information entertainment.
Oh, Justin, I have to forward this to you. It's hysterical. It's an angry bird. It's like a parakeet that's just dropping F-bombs right and left. I'll forward it.
Oh.
It's hysterical.
Okay.
We decided it's a good recording to have for those spam calls. Hold on a second. Let's listen to this.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Thank you for having me on. It seems like you got a great group here, and everyone's got good energy, and it's fun. It's good stuff.
It's great. We have a lot of fun every week, so come back anytime and join us.
Yeah. So is it just every
Friday.
Every Friday.
In
You
fact,
never know who's going to be on.
sorry?
you
never
post
know who's
that
gonna be
in
on.
the Facebook group?
I posted in the Facebook group and also SethDavid.com. If you go to events now, actually, that's one of the things I spent a lot of time on this week. I have an events page now with Zibwam in there. So you'll see already you can register for next week and the week after, and then you'll get reminders about it. So
What about emailing me?
I'm working. I have an email sign up form there now too. That's brand new. So go to SethDavid.com Zibwam, and there's an email sign up that you can add yourself to. You can opt in, and then you will start getting email updates as well.
Good. See, that to me, I like that.
Yep.
I email.
So just go to SethDavid.com and go to Zibwam. In fact, that can be the topic of another discussion, but I can actually talk to you all about, I'm working on building a very specific strategy. I'm actually building a series of many different mailing lists that have a very targeted topic. So Zibwam is one. I also have one for my weekly pep talks, different email list. Then I have my master list, which is kind of like everybody who just wants everything, update-wise on what I'm doing. But I've been really bad about keeping up with it. But that's about to change because I agree with what Justin said earlier, that email is the most effective. It's still probably the most important way to just make sure that you're getting in front of people because they're giving you permission to do it.
I have one question about emails, Justin. MailChimp or Constant Contact?
MailChimp all the way. When I see Constant Contact, I think rookie.
I love MailChimp. And then if you can afford it, Infusionsoft is really like the king of this kind of stuff.
I'm on Infusion, but MailChimp for sure.
Yeah, MailChimp will be a lot more affordable.
I think it's free, actually. Isn't it free?
What? In MailChimp, there's a free level, but once you go over so many people on the list, you'll start paying. But I think I pay like $10 a month. It's totally worth it.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, I can't find your Angry Bird video. I don't know. Did you send it from a different email?
You're muted, Dennis.
I have Dennis LT at DL Thompson CPA.
It should be in the chat.
It's the first thing in the chat.
Oh, okay. No, I was looking because you sent it to me via email. So,
Well, I also put it in the chat.
okay.
You may want to take this offline. I don't know.
I'll find it. Yeah, no, don't watch it online. All right. Anyway, Justin, thank you so much for being with us. I'll send you the Angry Bird. SethDavid.com. Go to events, and you'll see where you can sign up. And we're going to be adding more. I'm going to be adding a lot of different, not a lot, but a number of different event sort of verticals there. And each one's going to have its own list. And eventually I'll get on and I'll tell you what my thinking and strategy is behind that. But that's it. Thanks again, Justin.
Thank you, everyone.
You showed us a slide deck. Any way that can be made available, or is that too proprietary?
Yeah, no, the pricing one?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Just
All
tell
right,
me.
send that to me, and this way I'll make it available. I'll include it as a download when I send the email out to everybody.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good day.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.